Good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me? Okay. So we started off with a question by Yogeshwar. I'll answer that in some time. Okay. So basically, let me share my screen and give you a brief agenda of today's session, what we are going to discuss, and let me just announce in the group also that we are starting. Just give me one moment. Let me first of all announce in the group that we are starting. Okay, so basically, first of all, there is an announcement that you will be having the next session. Like tomorrow, you might be having a session on dynamic arrays, which will be taken by Mohit, I guess. So Mohit takes your sessions on DSL, right? So there will be a remedial session on dynamic arrays tomorrow. You can see it in your dashboard. So that will be totally a remedial session. Like those who were not able to grasp the things in the first go for dynamic arrays, they can attend the session that will be tomorrow. Okay. And also on Thursday. So there will be 2 remedial sessions. They are completely optional. So Mohit told me to announce it. So I just have announced it. Just take a note of it. And let me now. So now I just wanted to know how many of you are able to solve the assignments. So basically, Yogeshwar, those classes will be optional for those who did not understand any concepts. They will be of short duration. So just check in your dashboard once. I think they will be for both your batches, September Elitex and November Elitex. Okay. So nothing new will be taught in those 2 sessions. Okay, so basically I will do this thing. I'll launch a poll regarding your assignment. So were you able to solve the Django second assignment? That is the music project. Okay. So just give me one moment. All of you please answer this poll. So were you able to solve the second assignment? Okay. So some of you are saying few test cases passed. So all of you please answer. We have only 24 responses. Like why is it the case that out of 40 people only 20 people are responding? So others, did you not attempt the assignment? So then you could have responded with attempted but not accepted. So basically, I would request all of you to answer this poll. So I will relaunch this poll. Like, we shall not proceed unless all of you please respond with your status of the assignment. So just all of you, all the 40 students should respond to this poll. Otherwise, will not proceed. So we should have all the 40 responses so that we understand why you people are not able to. So even if you did not attempt it, please honestly mark that you could not attempt it. So all of you, please respond to this poll as quickly as possible. So we need all 40 people to respond. So still there are only 30 responses. Like, that doesn't seem fair to me that at least 1/3 of the class is not responding. So we'll keep a note of those students who did not respond to the poll. So basically, it's not quite fair that some of you are just not trying the things that we are providing. So as we can see, 56% students have not attempted it. So I would like to know what is the reason behind that. So I'll just launch another poll to understand why you people are not attempting. So please mark all the valid responses. So only one choice is allowed. Please mark the most appropriate choice why you are not able to attempt. All the 56% people who have responded with that you were not able to attempt. So all the 56%, that means around 20 people of you. So at least 20 responses why you people could not attempt it. Please do respond so that we understand how we can assist you in this. So I just do not understand. Yeah. So that's okay, Sudipta. You're saying that's okay. That's okay. Like, most of you are not able to find time to solve it. So where exactly is the issue? Like, if you won't solve it now, then you will not be able to solve it later. Okay, Kazi, that is a very good suggestion. Okay, so how many of you have not solved the first assignment also? So can you people just okay, let me launch just one last poll. So just one last poll. Have you solved the first assignment at least? Okay, so some of you say you'll solve it, like Ananya says he'll solve it before the next session. Shresth says it's taking time to understand. Okay, fine. So it looks like at least half of the class is just not responding. I don't know what the reason is. So out of 45 people, only 24 are responding. So that's not fair enough. So we'll have to see something that we can do from our side. So let's start the session now anyways. So I hope you can see the screen. Okay, so wait, just one moment. So I'll tell you what we are going to do in today's session. So today's session will be a little different since you people are facing a lot of issues in the assignment. So we'll first go through the second assignment, what exactly you had to do, and maybe we'll also go through the first assignment. So first of all, let me just open the assignment for you. So can you all see the screen? Please react with yes if you are able to see the screen. Okay. If you are having issues in understanding the concepts, we are doing a quick recap of what we have discussed, and we are going through the assignments to see how you can apply what we have discussed. So we are not discussing anything new at this moment. So we'll have the first half of the session as kind of assignment discussion, in the second half of the session as kind of the new topic, that is databases. So that's the flow of the session. So I'll briefly discuss the assignment one, what you had to do. I'll not discuss the solution right away. So as most of you have solved. So basically in this, you were given a project and an app. So if I show you the code for assignment one, you were given this first app, first project. So you had to write a view that simply returns hello world. Okay, so we see that in the first tab we have views.py. So here we just had to create a view that will return hello world. So I hope you all can do this now. With the first two sessions we have discussed it in detail, how you can create a view. Those of you who can do it, please react with a yes. Okay. So there are some people who are saying that we cannot do so. See, basically what you have to do, you just have to define a method, let's say def index. It takes in the request and now it will simply return the response, right? HTTP response of hello world. Okay. So that's how your index method should have looked like. So basically, and then you will also have to import this HTTP response. So you can say from django.http import HTTP response. Okay. So for this request, you are giving this response. So this is how your index method had to look like. And then you will have a URLs for this app or for this project. So you have two files basically. One is the urls.py. Okay. So those who are facing issues in setting up the project, so basically it has been a long time. We have all been doing this thing. So if you still face issues, you can reach out to us personally. We'll be able to help you. We have provided all the relevant references on how to install. The installation part is not that difficult, right? So it takes at least 30 to 40 minutes of your effort. Then you will be able to install the things, right? Okay. So now what we can say is we have two files basically. One is views.py, one is the urls.py. So in this, we simply define the path. So let me define that. For this path, that is for localhost colon port, that is 8000, we simply go to the views dot index. Okay. And then you will have to import this views. So from first app, from the app name, we import this views. So if I now run this first project, so we are just recapping the first basic things that we had discussed. So I'll go inside this folder. Okay. And now what we will be doing will be simply running the server. So I can say Python manage py run server, right? So if I do this, then what you will be able to see, okay, so what is the syntax error? Anybody can tell me what we have missed over here? Okay, let you take a look over here. So debugging is a very major skill that you will be learning. Along the side, you will be working on the assignments. Comma, exactly. So all of you say that the comma is missing. So we can simply say a comma here and then the syntax will fix. So now we can simply go over here. You can ignore this line for now. We will talk about this in detail. Now you can see that the hello world is coming on the screen, right? So if I go to some other URL, let us say I go to /admin, or let's say I go to /hello, then you won't get anything because currently there are only these two paths defined in our project. So none of this matches the path hello, right? So if I define a path hello over here and then refresh and then go to this, then you will be able to see that it will load. So now /hello will give us hello world. Now if I go to this, then it won't load, right? Because now we just have these two paths. So this message that comes over here is quite helpful in debugging whether a URL for this page that you are visiting exists or not. So it says that using the URL configuration defined in the first project URLs, Django tried these URL patterns in this order. The empty path did not match any of these. So if I go to / something like ABC, now again it will say the current path ABC did not match any of this. So make sure you read the error messages carefully, then only you will be able to debug what is happening, right? Does that make sense till this point? We are just recapping so that all of you are able to solve the assignments, right? And if you have not understood any concept, you can like get a fresh perspective for the same, right? Okay. So this was the first thing that you had to do. Now similarly, you had to write some other views like /home should return this, and everything here is case sensitive. /scalar should return this. Okay. And in the part 2, what you had to do, you had to give a name. So this was a dynamic route which takes in some other parameter. So basically this was the dynamic route. I'll just keep adding some bookmarks here so that you can take a look. Okay, Siddharth, I'll take that. I'll see that. So basically here, whenever you will give something in the argument, that same name should get printed, right? So somehow alongside the request, we also have to pass the name. Does that make sense? And then you had to have a about page. So let me show you how you can make this name part. So for that, you could simply have said, let's define a path that takes in this name. So by this angular brackets, you can give a dynamic route and it will now go to views.name and we put a comma here. So now we define a request def name. Now it itself will take a name as the second argument, right? Because that's what you have provided it here. Let me change this to something like name page so that you don't get confused. And let me rename this to name page. Now you can simply say return HTTP response, and here you can use something like fstring, or you can say hello world, hello plus name plus this. Hello plus name plus, you might have to also give something else, the exclamation mark, right? So now if you see, if you will go to any other page apart from this hello, then you should get the name. But will that be the case? So let us see this. Sorry. Let me close the extra pages over here. Okay. So now you see hello ABC will print. If I go to hello will print, but we do not want this. So why this is happening? Because the URLs are matched in the order they are written, right? So first of all, this will get matched, right? Any string that comes will get matched and this view will be run, right? So we have to put this in the second place, right? So as to see the hello world page separately. So now if you go to /hello, you will see hello world. And if you go to anything else, you will be able to see hello with that particular string, right? Okay. Does that make sense? So Ayan, that is a good question. So if you need two dynamic arguments, just try to explore on this part. So that is an advanced concept, might not be required. So if I say like hello name / let's say age, okay, and which is an integer, we can also provide a type over here. So now what will happen? We have two dynamic arguments. One is the name, one is the age, right? Age should be an integer. So only an integer will match in the age variable. So if we now save it, now it will take two arguments. One is the name and one is the age. And let's say hello name, you are, and we can say age. So we have to convert this to a string. Let's say you are 18 years old. Okay. If we now try to run this, it will not match because you need one more argument. Let's say hello Ayan, and let's say 22, 21. So now you can see hello Ayan, you are 21 years old. Let us say in 29, you are 29 years old. Let's change the name. Hello Siddharth, you are 29 years old, right? So does that make sense? So that's how like you can pass multiple arguments as dynamic routes, right? If you want an int to the other argument, you can make this, right? So you can simply pass here 100 and 1000. That will work totally in this case. You can pass an integer in a string, right, Ayan? Integer can be passed in a string. If you want to strictly match this to an integer, then you can change this, right? Now, if you change this also to an integer, then it won't work. Why? Because this string is not an integer. It will not match, right? It says that this does not match any of these, right? Because both of them are expected to be integers. So this is something that we have discussed apart from the assignment, but let's now focus on what was the main point. So I'll just recap. So now anybody who will not be able to solve this assignment, one more thing you had to do was a about page where you have to print one h1 tag and inside that one p tag mentioning your something about you. Okay. So make sure you strictly follow what is mentioned in the assignment. Otherwise, the test cases won't be successfully running, right? Because the test cases are designed in such a way that whatever instructions are provided, they are 100% satisfied, right? If you change anything from your end, they might not successfully run. So you have to see the error message in that case. Okay, so to provide HTML, you can simply say, like, let's say that we are making the about page. So what I'll do is I'll say path about views dot about page. Now I can simply change this to about page, and that simply takes a request. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to return HTTP response, but in multiple lines I'm going to pass the HTML. So I'll simply say, let's say about me. So then we'll have a p tag. Let us say, hi, I am Isha. Okay, I study at so and so college. So if you do like this, then what will happen is you will be able to see a final page that is like this, right? So this is a HTML response that you got. So here we have used multiple lines using the three double quotes, right? So that was your first assignment. Now, those of you who did not solve it earlier, I hope you will be able to complete it. And did you got your concepts revised of setting the routes in the URL patterns, of uh, creating the views? So should we move to the second assignment and see like what you have to do exactly? We'll not discuss the solution. We will just give you some hints. Yogeshwar, we are not discussing the solution. We are discussing some hints and some concepts. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the second assignment and make sure that all the above responses are case sensitive. So basically you should not modify anything on your end. Otherwise test cases might not pass, right? You will have to then read through the error message. So now let's go to the second assignment and see what you had to do in this second assignment. So I'll just add a bookmark over here for the assignment 2. Ayan, we are not solving the assignment. Again, I'll repeat. I'll not solve this. I'll give you some hints. Yes, so there was an include way also that let's discuss in that case. So in that you can include the URLs of a app. So for submitting the assignment, Pratik, we had made a separate video and it has been uploaded in your dashboard. So you can just look at it. You have to simply push your code to GitHub, not to GitHub, to one other platform we are using, GitEA, right? Yes. Okay. So if that is not working, just let me know. So Pratik Ranjan was asking this doubt. So in the second time, make sure you do not do a git checkout minus b again. So you just have to do git checkout b next time, from next time. So since your branch will always be created in the first push, so from the next time you need not change your branch. So you need not say minus b then from the next time, because you will be in that branch, right? Okay, awesome. Now let us see the second assignment, what you had to do. Okay. Yeah, see that's also fine. That makes sense totally. So in this, you are given a project, another project. So the project files are created for you. The music project is created, right? And then we have some templates. So in the previous session, we discussed majorly about templates. So if I just recap to you, wait, yeah. In the first session, we discussed about how you create a project, what's the file structure, how you run the server, how you create the apps, and how you simply respond with a given value, right? Like hello world or any text or any HTML. You have to specify the URL and the path. So whatever is the first argument of the path, that gets matched, right? And we discussed the dynamic routing after that. And finally, we also discussed one thing, that was we can simply include the URLs of the app directly. So let us see this in the second case, right? Okay, so after that, we in the second session, we started off with the Django templates, right? So let us briefly understand about Django templates and the second assignment, how it is all related. Okay, so let me go to that. This description might look a little difficult to understand, but the project is very simple. We have provided a lot of code already for you to write. So basically, you just have to fill in some of the places. Most of the code is already provided to you. So if you go through the assignment, if you clone the files on the mentioned on the platform, you will be able to see that a lot of the files have already been implemented. Okay, so I'll show you to that in a minute. So Pragne, yes, it looks intimidating at the first go. If you made changes in the master branch, you can check out to the staging branch and then push those changes again, or you can merge the master branch in the staging branch. Just take a look at merging the branches. Okay, if you still need help, let me know. Fine, so let us see the second project. Basically, let us first see how it looks like. So you have a home page that shows you some playlists whose data is provided to you by our end. Okay, These two playlists look like this, and then you see the number of songs in that playlist. The second value here that you can see 3 and 2, right? Finally, you have a dynamic URL that is slash playlist slash the ID of playlist. So as you can see here, this first playlist, you see the songs that are there in that, right, in this table format. And then you have second playlist whose songs you can see like that. So basically you did not have to modify the my playlists or my songs, otherwise your test cases will fail. So I'll show you where they are implemented. So you are given music project and the app playlist. Okay, so see that this music project and this playlist has been created for you, the project and the app. Inside the app, so what are the major files that you have worked on till now? URLs py, views py, and templates. Yeah, settings also in this case you will be working, and the HTML, which are the templates. Okay, so we'll use just these files and we'll be able to complete this application. So let us take 1 minute to read this. If you did not read this earlier, take 1 minute to read this part 1 and tell me how you will be doing this. Just 1 minute, read it and tell me. Okay. Okay, so regarding the link that is in the part 2, we will see this. Right. So first of all, have you understood this? What you have to do? So I'll just add the part 1 music project. So you just have to work with the 3 files: templates, URLs, and the views. So first, if you see, you are provided with an array called my playlist in playlist slash views.py. You go to this, you can see that you are provided with this my playlists array, which is an array of dictionary. So a dictionary is like a key value pair. Here you can see for every playlist there is a key ID, key name, and the key number of songs, right? So using this, you can access all these playlists. So now in the previous session, we showed you how you can pass some data from the view to the front end using templates to render some dynamic content, right? So now the data will be going from the view and it will send it to the template. The template will then operate on this to render the final output. So it will be clear in a moment. If you did not understand it, do not worry. So let us see how exactly this is there. So in the URLs, you have to add the path for home view. So basically it would be something like there will be a view dot views dot, let us say views dot index, right? We might have the playlist views. So we have a home view. Okay, the home view is already implemented. You just need to map it to the URL. So at a lot of places in the code, we have given you some hints already so that you will be able to easily complete the assignment. So we can simply say here, if I go to this URLs py, you can simply say views dot home, and then you can give it some name. Let's name it as the home. So this name is different and this path is different. This is what gets matched, not this. So I have seen that some students are confused that this name argument gets matched in the URL. No, the first argument gets matched. The third argument is just like a variable for that path. So it can be used in the, yeah, it can be used. I'll show you how you can use this today. I'll show you Siddharth. Okay. Then we have to give a comma here. And then if you just run this project, so I'll just run this for you one moment. I'll go inside the assignment too. I'll say Python manage py run server. Okay, I have to go inside base. So if we now see in the home page, we get this, right? We do not get anything else. So why is that the case? So it seems like there has been some issue here, right? Now, can anyone figure out what is the issue? F playlist से हटाना पड़ेगा, Samvit says. No. There is one more thing. If you see these URLs, we have defined in the playlist URLs, right? But we need to see the project URLs, right? Let us see where exactly the project URLs are. So here, we have not included the playlist URLs till this point, right? So we have to include that. So we have to say path, at this index path, include the playlist.urls, right? You need to include the URL for the app. So that is how you segregate the URLs of your project from the app. If you now run this, let us see. Wait. There seems some issue. Okay. There seems some issue. We can also see this error message that expected an indented block. So if currently the logic is not implemented, I can simply say pass over here, right? So this pass simply will skip this function. Like it's like return. Pass is like return. So basically we did not have a definition for this function. That is why it was giving a syntax error. Now you see that template does not exist. So we discussed one more thing in the previous session, how to define the path for the template. So I will simply add a bookmark. So just keep taking the notes for these important things, and you can also add bookmarks in the lecture as you go. From your end, you see you will be having a bookmarks tab in your meeting page, right? So if you want to refer to the same part again, you can refer this part. Once you have added the bookmark, it gets easy. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to simply see the template path. So this templates are inside template slash playlist, and here in home we are rendering for this request this particular template. So it needs to know, the Django project needs to know where these playlist folder can be found, right? Where this template for playlist can be found. So we need to go inside the project settings and we need to define a path for the template dir. So this has been already done for you. The template directory has already been set for you. You need to include it in the template dir key. So just go to the template dir, templates dir, app templates directory, and just include it over here. So now we have given the path for the directory. I'm not revealing the solution. I'm just giving you some conceptual hints, right? So now if we go here, we will be able to see that some other error comes here now. So we have to go inside this template and see that there is something wrong over here. So if we go to the templates slash home.html, we see we have given some sort of hint here, and there are some sort of Django template code, right? So basically this was the tag. There are two things we discussed. One was the tag and one was the what do you say, variable, right? There were two things we discussed, tags and variables, in the previous session. So we just have to maybe comment it. So for now I will remove this. Okay, and then you should be able to run this, right? You see that uh, this playlist comes over here, but only the image is coming. There is nothing else that is coming, right? So we have to add a loop for playlists, and then we have to add the relative URL here for the playlist with the ID of the current playlist. We have to provide the name and the songs and the end loop. So I will show this part to you. Okay, and then the second part you can try as a homework. Yogeshwar, you will not have any errors if you remove the comments. Okay, so just make sure you do not add any extra tags, HTML tags, or remove any extra HTML tags. So like this anchor tag, you are not supposed to remove here. So you are supposed to give a relative URL here. Like in the previous session, we discussed about giving the URL something like this, right? So now you see that currently nothing will come because we haven't provided any details over here. So let us see, we discussed about the loops. So we simply pass the loops like this. First we have curly braces, then the percentage sign, and then we write for, and let's say for playlist, let's say for p list in let's say my playlists. And then what we are going to do is we are simply going to use this plist as the loop variable. So let us say slash, here we can pass the plist.id, where we can pass the name of the plist, right? So plist.name. So by using the dot keyword, we can access the attributes. Here we can say plist.number of songs. So now if we try to run this, and we also have to make sure that the loop is ended. So for that, we can simply say end for, right? If we now run this, you see that we will get the expected output, right? Anirudh, the second part is really interesting. So I'll just give you some hints so that you can get started. All right. So now you see that this will take you to slash playlist slash one. This will take you to slash playlist slash two, right? But we haven't defined the URL for this, right? It does not match with any of them, right? Okay. So everything clear till this point, how we have used this. So this actually this home view was already implemented for you. We had already rendered the request, this template and this context with the variable my playlists. So using this key, you can access whatever value we have returned here, right? So just a brief recap of what we discussed in the previous session. I hope now all of you are clear with this and you can at least solve the part one of the second assignment. Yes or no? Yes or no? Please react. Yes, let's take a short 5 minutes break and then let's resume from the what part two was and how you can think about it. Yes, database, we are coming to it after we just discuss what was the second part. Fine, let's take a 5 minutes break and then let's resume. Good enough for all of you? Okay, I'll stop sharing. Okay, so let us now resume. So I hope you have taken some water and are refreshed now. We can continue for another 40-50 minutes, right? Okay. So Anurag says my 4 test cases are failing. Anurag Rai. Please do take a look at the description of the cases that are failing, right? You will be able to infer something from there. Okay. So basically, let's continue now. Assertion error, basically, you can see Yogeshwar there some additional details. So, like some expected output is not being matched. That's what the assertion error is. When we say assert A equal to B, A and B should match, right? So basically, just read what is not matching. You will be able to understand from there, right? Okay. Okay. So basically, you have given some extra new lines, Anurag. You need not give these extra new lines, right? So Yogeshwar, below that video, so basically once your test cases are run, below the video you will also be able to see the details of the test cases. Not just the video is provided, the details of the failing test cases is also provided. Just try to take a look. I'll show it to you in a moment after we are done with the second part discussion. So I'll just add a bookmark. So let us discuss the part 2 of the music project. So I hope you are all excited. This was the challenging part, that is inside this you need a URL that will render the songs template. So first I'll read the description. So in the part 2 you have to build this songs template. Now we need a template in which we can add our songs. For this we have provided you with an array my songs which includes 5 songs. So you have to perform the following tasks. Create a new view called playlist and set a dynamic route scope for it such that it becomes localhost 8000 slash playlist slash n, where n is the integer representing the playlist ID. So in this view, create a new array songs in which you are supposed to add only those songs where playlist ID is equal to the ID given in the URL. And you need to raise a for error if the ID doesn't match any of the playlist IDs. Okay. So what is a 404 error? Anybody? Okay. Sorry. My bad. My screen is not shared. Yeah. It's page not found. So what I was saying is, in this, you need to add a template in which you can add the songs. We have provided you with an array, my songs, which includes 5 songs. You have to perform the following tasks. Create a new view, playlist, and set a dynamic route such that it becomes slash playlist slash n, where n is the integer representing the ID of the playlist. In this playlist view, you have to create a new array, songs, in which you're supposed to add only those songs where playlist ID is equal to the ID given in the URL. Okay. So it will be clear in just a moment. Like in this playlist, you see these 3 songs are there that are part of this. So you have to filter out those songs, add it to some array, and you are supposed to return that in the context. And also you need to find the name of the playlist, right? So you need to render the songs array and the name of the playlist. So a template is given. You just need to inject the songs array and the name into this template, right? And then you need to add a relative route in home.html that takes you to the songs view. Okay. So basically the last line is a little tricky. So it simply means that upon clicking on this particular playlist, you should get to the first playlists page, and that is exactly what is happening, right? So you see that we have already kind of solved this situation by let me go to home HTML by using this line, right? There is another neat way for this where we use the URL tag, right? There is a URL tag that we can use. So I'll explain that to you since that is important. So what we can do is here we can simply say, this is one way. Let me go to the next way. That is, you can say here URL and then you can say the name of the URL. So which in this case we have to define. So this is that name which we were talking about in the first go, right? Okay, let me share my screen once again. Just a moment. So now this is the name that we had been talking about. Let me call it playlist URL name. And then we give whatever is the argument that we are supposed to give. So here we are supposed to give the ID. So that is plist.id, right? So this plist.id will be the ID of this. So this will be the argument, the dynamic argument to this URL. This is the name and this is the URL tag. So that's how we can use the URL tag. So let me just go to the urls.py of the music app and I need to add a path for the playlist. So I can simply say path playlist / int id, and then what we need to do is we need to go to views.playlist and then we need to have one more thing, that is the name. So this is playlist URL name, right? So now can you relate to this, that this name comes in handy when we are using this kind of relative URLs like this. So let me try to run this for you. Now if you see, it will take you to /playlist/1. So the exact same thing happens, but we are using the URL tag to get to the right URL, right? Okay. So just take a note of this, just write it down and just explore this URL tag. So if you are not familiar, okay, so I'll just repeat this connection once again. See, this URL tag, let us first go to the documentation of URL tag. So we'll just search documentation and then let's just go here. Let us just search URL here using. So it returns an absolute path reference matching to a given view and optional parameters, right? So you have to first give URL, then the URL name. The first argument is a pattern name, right? Additional arguments are optional and should be space separated values. Okay. So like you can pass the values of the arguments or you can also pass like ID is equal to plist.id, something like that, right? So just always make sure you first read the documentation. That will help you clearing your concept in a much deeper way, right? So I'll just share this URL in the chat so that after the session you can read this, and always make it a habit to read documentation of the tag that you are using. So see, this is the URL name, so that we just defined here the name of the URL, right? And this is the path that we have provided, and this is the view.playlist. So if you just go to views.py, you can see the dev playlist with this request and with this ID, right? Does that make sense now? Shreya, can you please respond? Okay. So that should be clear now, and we can also have passed here ID equal to this. That would also work. We can give the name of the parameter also, right? Now also it will work. Now what is left over is this particular connection of this to the view. So for that you can simply say, you can simply slash playlist slash one does not match anything. Okay, did not return an HTTP response, it returned none. So we have to go to the view now and we have to render this template. So this template would look something like this: playlist slash song.html. And then you will have to provide the song name, let us say name, and then the playlist. Sorry, you have to provide the songs here. Let's say it's an empty list currently, and then the name of the playlist. So for now, I'm hard coding some random value here. This logic you have to complete. Okay, and let me remove this pass keyword. Now let us see what happens. Now you see that there is an end for loop that we have provided. So let's just comment that for time being. Okay. Now you see that you get this page because rest of the things you haven't implemented in your template, right? You just have to read this template and you have to first of all provide the name here, then the loop for the songs, and this dot counter variable is nothing but the loop counter. So it simply starts from 1, 2, 3 like that. And then you have to add the name of the track. The artist, album and length have already been provided. And finally, you just have to end the for loop, right? Loop for the songs. So all the songs that are there in this particular playlist, right? Does that make sense? So if I just go here inside the view, so what you just have to do is you have to complete this method and mapping is done, mapping to this particular URL. You have to find the songs for this playlist. So basically you have to iterate over all these songs and see if the playlist ID matches the given ID, right? If this playlist ID matches the given ID, then you will append it to a new array. So let's say you will create a new array. You will create a new list and then you will iterate over the songs whose playlist ID matches, right? And similarly, you will have to iterate over the my playlists to find the name of the matching ID, right? And finally, you will have to return HTTP 404 in case the playlist is not found. Okay, so let us see this thing right now. And rest all, I think that's logical. You should try this at your own, right? So now how many of you should be able to try this? I'll just launch a quick poll. I need, yes, good responses from all of you. And do not change anything that we have provided in the templates or anywhere. Just add the thing in the part where we have left space for you to. Otherwise, some test cases might fail if you make any major changes in the HTML tags or any particular order. So, Yogeshwar, you are giving some new lines extra. That should not be the case, right? Just see where exactly is the issue. Still only 14 people have responded. Yogeshwar, please do send me your code. Maybe I'll try to take a look at this. So Yogeshwar, this is the home page. Yes, I am. That's strange actually. If you have not understood any concept, we just revisited all the first two sessions content on Django. If still you have any doubts, like I just want to know why you are not able to understand so that I can help my best. Okay, okay. Anurag, you can delete some of the comments. That's totally allowed. Okay. So fine. Then let's continue. So I'll show you how you can raise HTTP 404 in case this playlist ID is not present, right? So let's say I give some playlist ID like playlist slash 3. In that case, we should say that it does not exist. So let us simply see Django insert, or let's say Django HTTP 404 raise. So you see that we get to this, and it simply says you can import from Django HTTP 404, and when the given playlist is not found, you can simply raise HTTP 404 and template does not exist or anything, any message for the error, right? So you can read upon this in more detail. I'll just share it over here. Okay. And I'll also add a bookmark. Fine. So in this case, what we can simply do, we can simply say, let's just raise it directly. You will need to have some sort of condition. Okay, so I'll leave that part to you. And finally, let us say, yeah, we already have imported this for you. Now let's try to run this. So now each of these will say playlist not found, right? Every page will give this error, right? So I think now we have discussed most of the hints that will help you solve this, but here you have to write the logic yourself. Okay, think of it like an algorithm or API you have to implement, something of that sort. You can simply say import star. I think so. Ayan, just give it a try. And so I'll just close all these files and I'll go over if anything that we have missed. And make sure that you try to stick to you can verify the visual output once yourself and do not add any extra HTML tags in your code anywhere that might cause the test cases to fail. If there is anything where you feel your test cases should pass but it's not, read the error message. If you are not able to understand, just let us know, ask in the group, or you can DM on the Skiller chat. So I'll show you now how the error messages you can read in case you do not know. Just give me one moment. Yeah. Basically, give me one moment. So I'm just trying to show you how you can read the error message that comes. It seems to be not loading for me. Why exactly that's the case? Just one last minute. Okay, doesn't show. Okay, it shows. Okay, cool. So here we go. So see, you will, after you make submission, you will see some sort of this kind of response. You can see your previous submissions And once you click view logs, and once you just click over here, if you click over here, so I'll add a bookmark once, how you can read the error messages. Let me share it again. Okay, so you can add me there. So I'll just share my contact number. Maybe you can add me there if that is the case. If there is a WhatsApp group already there, then you can add me over there. Okay, I'll share my contact number maybe later at the end. Right. So what I was saying is, but I might not be active there. So okay. Once you click over here, can you all see the screen? Please react with the yes if the screen is visible. Okay. So once you make a submission, these are your instructions. You might not have to again and again go to the staging branch. Once you do it, it should be good enough. Okay. And we also shared you a video to understand how this is working, like how exactly can you push, clone, all these steps we have discussed in that. Now once you click in the view logs and once you just click over here, you should be able to see that these are the test cases, and this test case failed. And why it failed? So it found 3 but it was expecting 2, right? Home page should show 2 playlists but it is showing 3 playlists somehow, right? So just go through these error messages one by one and try to see whether you can make any understanding from here, right? Also you can take a look at this video. So once you click this, you also will be shown a video, and below this video also you can see the test cases, right? So just try to read the error message. You should be able to debug this, right? Okay, sorry. Just a moment. Yeah, thank you if this was helpful. So now should we continue to the second part of the session where we discuss some brief things about database, and from the next session we will start with a totally new concept in Django, that is the Django models. Okay, I'll share my screen once again. So I'll give you one homework as well, that you have to read this part about creating the models. So this will be sort of pre-reading material before the next session. So I'll share it over here and I'll add it in the references also. Just bookmark this. Okay. So let's do a final recap of what we have done. So we have seen till now how we can build app or project using Django. Okay. Then how we can set these routes, these paths, and map them to a view. So we have looked at 2 things till now in the MVT architecture that we started, view and template. Now the third thing is missing, right? That is the model. So the data that we are extracting, it should not be in the view. It should not be coded in the code itself, right? The playlist data or the songs data that we have currently, it is inside the view itself. But no, that's not a good practice, because you need to store your data somewhere in some file, so that even if you have, let's say, if you make some changes in your code, your data might not get corrupt, right? So basically we need some way of storing our data permanently in some location. Now that's where databases come into the picture. So before understanding model, we should know what database is. Okay. So that was the brief recap. We also discussed about templates. So views, after views, we discussed about this template language where we had variables and tags, right? So this allows us to do the front end part, right? The UI part. where we render something, see something on the page. But now we are coming to the second part of our dev module 1 on Django, that is the backend part. So how we will be handling data, how we will be saving it efficiently and extracting it, right? Does that make sense? Some sort of sense? So what we are doing, are you able to understand why we will be needing a database? Because we want to store this data somewhere so that we can extract it. Right, Siddharth, exactly. So it was some sort of front end only that till now, but we were creating a server, right? That server will respond with the HTML files, right? Now we need storing of data into the database. Okay. So what we need a database. So let us say that you want to create a to-do application. So what all you might want to store? So you might want to store the tasks associated with a given user, right? That this user needs to do these many tasks. You might want to store the passwords of the users, sorry, the hash of the passwords, so that they can log in into your application, right? You might want to store the, let's say, any kind of details associated with the tasks, right? That could be the priority of the task, the deadline of the task, something like that, right? The description of the task, right? So basically, you need to store, right, a lot of data. Now just storing it in a dictionary or in an array won't go long, right? Because if you just, let's say, if your application scales, let's say your application is used by users, will those million records be stored in RAM? Will you be able to store them in RAM, in the random access memory that your code uses? In the CPU, it won't be, right? You will need a server, you will need some virtual machines, some additional storage to just store your data, right? So that's why we need a database with which we can connect, with which we can extract the data as and when needed, right? Okay. So why database? So basically, let's say as application is used by a lot of users, we need some sort of persistent storage, right? Because if we just uh, rely on the memory, we won't be able to store huge amount of data. And also there is a disadvantage of saving your data in the application, that once you run the application, then only you will be able to access that data, right? But you want to store it permanently somewhere, right? So for some sort of persistent or permanent storage, right? So if we store it in a view, if we store it in a code file, only when the code gets run, the data will be accessible, right? In other times it won't be accessible, right? Only when the code or the application gets run. But let's say we want to analyze the data, let's say our application shuts down, but we need to keep that data, right? We do not want it to be deleted, right? So we need some storage, some permanent storage. So that's why we need a database. So now there are several kinds of database, like SQL databases, NoSQL databases, which are not only SQL databases, right? SQL is one of the most commonly, or like most uh, important databases that you should all know, because it has a lot of power, right? It uses the relational schema that we will take a look. Okay. It provides a SQL language, a query language. Okay, so basically, in our project, what we will be using will be a smaller version of SQL that will be SQLite 3. So this is a very simpler version of SQL, right? Which stores the data in a single file, right? Whereas a SQL uses some sort of B-tree structures, B-tree or some sort of B-tree kind of data structures to store the data in a, let's say, in a permanent location or somewhere, some hard disk or somewhere, right? Some machines, lot of machines, right? Yeah, we won't be seeing the NoSQL, that is the MongoDB, because we first want to see the relational kind of databases. So MongoDB is not relational in that you cannot define relationships between the tables. So we'll understand what those relationships are in the tables, right? So that is also dependent on the kind of application you are building. Which database do we need, right? So since our application is very simple, we can start with the SQLite 3, right? So in the next modules, you will be looking at other databases like NoSQL. In this current Django module, we will take a look at SQLite 3. Okay. So till this point, are things making sense? Like we have just talked about why we need a database and what a database is. So a database is simply some sort of mechanism to save your data so that you can simply retrieve it efficiently. You can query it efficiently, right? And you can simply insert the data, or you can simply make changes effectively. Okay. So basically making changes or basically adding new data is called the create operation. Making changes is called the update operation. Querying is just query, and retrieving, we use the select keyword, right? So basically there are few types of queries that we will see, sorry, in SQLite 3 that we will be using, right? So Pragna says, what is Firebase? So Firebase is also some sort of database that we'll not look at right now. Okay. So basically, we will be looking at some sort of query mechanism that once you have a database, it stores some data, how you can make changes to it, how you can extract the data for some sort of analysis. Uh, yes, Roshan has answered that correctly. And so basically we will look at these basic operations that are commonly go by the name CRUD operations. So these are create, read, update, and delete. Okay. And we might also want to delete some sort of tables, some sort of data that is not required anymore, right? So till now, we just know what a database is. We know that SQLite 3 is one kind of database, but how can I use SQLite 3 in my Django application? That is the next big question, right? Okay. I'll just take a pause here. If anybody has any questions, please do ask. Before we proceed, I'll take up any questions. No. Is the speed too fast or too slow? Let me just launch a poll. Please do respond, all of you. How is the speed of the session? Is it slow, just right? Is it fast? Yes, Siddharth, you have asked a very, very good question. Okay, so most of you say that it's good enough. Okay, great. So SQLite 3 will use this SQL query language, right? This SQL is simply nothing but the structured query language, right? If I remember it correctly. So basically it allows you to query the data effectively, and SQL is a type of database, right? We generally say that it is a SQL database when we can store this data in form of tables, right? So in the NoSQL databases, generally the data is stored not in terms of tables but like a JSON format, right? The data is like JSON format in these cases, and here the data is stored in tables. Okay, so basically if I tell you that there are two things, one is the schema of the database and second is the state or the instance of the database. So schema is simply the structure, design or the structure of the database. It's like what tables you have, what are the columns in those tables, right? So it is all that stuff. And the state or instance is simply the rows in the tables or the actual data. So whenever you see a database, you generally encounter these two terms. So that's why these two terms I'm explaining in detail here, and I hope you will be able to appreciate these two terms. Okay, so if I say that we have a tasks table that simply has the ID, it has the name or the description, let's say title and the description, and let us say it has the deadline, and then it has some sort of priority, okay, which is let us say 0, 1 or 2. Okay, this we can skip for now. So if this is our schema, then whatever data we have, that will be our instance of that database or the table. So we have a tasks table. The title, let's say, is task 1, and description is learn Django models. Deadline is, let us say, 24th Feb 2021. Priority is, let's say, 0. That means the highest priority. Okay. So did you get some idea about the schema and the state? The state is the actual data, the rows. Schema is the structure, the rows, or sorry, the columns, what is stored and where it is stored, in which table. Okay, fine. So enough of theory. Now let's try to do some applicative thing. Okay. So what we will do today is we will just go inside our project, and let's say we go inside the second project itself, or I'll create a new project in that case. So I'll just enter here in the 3. Okay, I'll say Django admin start project, let's say to do app. So we are finally going to build a simple to do app. Then let us say that we go inside this to do app, we do ls. Now we want to start a new app. Start app, tasks app. We'll have some sort of tasks in this to do app. Okay, now what we should do is we should just try to run this server. Sorry. Now what you see is once you run this server, this file has been created for you, right? Once you run the server, the db.sqlite3 file gets created. So basically, if you see in the settings of the project, we have defined the database that we are going to use, right? That is SQLite3, right? And this file gets created, which will store the data. Since it's a simpler version of SQL, it uses a simple file to store your data, whereas SQL uses some sort of B-tree data structure. Okay, so that's the very basic. Now let's try to interact with this SQL today, and then in the next session we'll see how we can uh, use the Django models to connect this database with the Django, right? So today we'll see how we can uh, update this database directly, and in the next session we'll see how we can work uh, within the Django using this database. Okay. Any questions till this point? I'll just take a short 1 30-second pause. Anirudh says, what's a tuple? A tuple is just a ordered collection of elements. Like you have, yeah, it's a row in the database terminology. For every column, you have some values, right? Yes, the database get created by default plugin. Because of these settings, it's by default SQLite 3 is considered. So now what we are going to do, we are simply going to run this SQLite 3. And if we say SQLite 3 db.sqlite 3, then you will get inside this another terminal kind of shell where you can see the details of your database. Currently there is nothing, right? So I'll just add a note here. So to run the database, you can simply say SQLite 3 and the DB file name, which is this db.sqlite3 over here, or you can simply say SQLite3. In that case, it will connect to a transient in-memory database. That means it has created some sort of transient, means temporary database. So let's not do that. Let us use the db.sqlite3 file itself. So it will make those changes inside this file, right? Yes, if we need another DB, we'll have to make the configurations. We'll have to change the settings. We will not need this in our today's or in the this upcoming session. So we'll go by this SQLite 3. Okay, so that's good enough. Now what we will see is, we'll see some sort of queries. So first let us see that how we can create a table. We'll see some sort simple SQL query. So we can say create the table name. Let us say create table, and then the table name is tasks. Then what we have to provide? We have to provide along with each column the type of that. So let's say it has an ID which is int. Then we have a title which is, let's say, a string. So for string, let's use varchar. It uses a varchar which has, let's say, some sort of limit. We limit by 50 characters. Then we have the description, which is again, let's say, a varchar, but it has 255 characters. Deadline, which is, let's say, date time. Now let us try to run this and see what happens. Okay. We also have to terminate this. So once we have terminated this, now you can see what sort of tables exist by using dot schema. So you see that there is a table tasks that exists. Let's say dot schema of this task table. So it will tell you which query has been used to create this table, right? So to create this table, this query was used. Yes, something like that, Sambit. It's like SQL, the basic SQL. Okay. And then let's simply do, so we can see the schema and the schema for a given table by using the commands dot schema of the table name. Now, second thing we should look at is how do we insert into a table. So what we can simply say here is insert into this table name, that is tasks, and some values. So what are these values? So we'll go column by column. The ID is, let's say, 1. Title is, let's say, learn. Title, let's say, Django. And description is, let's say, learn Django models. Okay. And then let's say the deadline is something sort of maybe 24/02/2021. Okay. Now let's just try running this and let's put a semicolon. Cool. So what we will do is we'll simply paste this here. Then if you see the values inside this, how you can do that? You can see that by saying the command table. So if you see dot table, you'll be able to see what tables exist. Dot table tasks, or I should say dot tasks. Okay. We need to extract the data of this particular table. So how can we do that? We can simply say dot. Let me just check. I also don't remember this, so I'll show you how we can just Google this in the documentation. So we need to simply show the data in a table in SQLite 3, right? So we can use the select keyword, but I was thinking if there was something else. Okay, just let me also check this. Okay. No, it's not dot show command. So there is this command that allows us to see the data. Select star from this table and then you put a semicolon. You will be able to see this data, but I was looking if there was a simpler way. Let us see that once. So I'll go to the tutorial for this. Yeah, select star from task is definitely there. I have a tutorial for this. Yeah. So basically that's how we generally go through the documentation and try to find out. Okay, sorry, it's not coming here. So I'll just see the dot help command to see if there is something. Otherwise, we'll simply not be able to find anything. Fine, then for now we'll stick with that. Let me just check one moment. Give me one final moment. So we have seen create and insert and select also. Okay. I think there is not another way. I think this is the only way to see the data. We just have to query this using the select query. Okay, so I'll just write it for you. So we have seen the first is the create query. Okay, using this dot schema, you can see the schema of your entire DB. Using this, you can see the schema of your current table. And using this dot table, you can see the, let's say dot table, you can see the tables that existing tables in your DB. Okay, so these are very basic things that we have seen. Now we'll see this query part, that is the third query or show the data. So I'm not sure how this dot show command works. Dot show tables. Okay, so let's ignore that for now. We'll have to look at the documentation. So we can simply say select star. By star, it means it will select all the columns from task table. If we need some specific, we can say select, let's say title from task. So this will simply select only the titles and we just have to terminate. It will show me Django, right? So these are some sort of very basic queries. Those are the create query, the insert query, and the show query, right? The select query. We also have this sort of update and delete. So as we will get into it, we'll simply understand them once we start building our application, right? But there'll be one major issue that will be there is how you connect this with your Django, right? So for that, we have the Django models, and that's where we'll start from next session. So I just don't want to over bombard you with other sort of information now. So you can try creating some tables in SQLite 3 for now. Try running this, and then we'll see from the next session how we can interact with Django using the SQLite 3. Okay, so that's it from my side today. I hope like I didn't take it too long and you have got some new concepts, and also your queries regarding assignments are answered. So Sambit, the data is stored in this db.sqlite 3. So now if you open this, you will be able to see some sort of things which you cannot read. So it's in binary format. This data is being stored. Okay. So Anirudh, to set the SQLite console, you can simply say inside the project, once you run it, you will get this, and then you can say SQLite 3 and the name of this file. Okay. That's how you will do it. If you are facing, if the command is not recognized, you will have to simply install this SQLite 3. So I'll share you some reference for that. You can take a look at that. No, there is no assignment. The only assignment is please complete your previous assignments. And try to run this SQLite 3. Okay. So we have given you a brief intro to databases and a brief recap of what we have discussed. Yeah, no quiz for today as well. So nothing today, just complete your previous assignment. So we don't want to like make it so much hectic for you that you will not remember anything otherwise. Okay. Sambit, what you are saying, how can we access what? Okay, how we can access using models this data? So for that, we'll be seeing the next session, right? That's why the suspense remains. How you can access this using SQL, using the Django. So that's where this models comes into the picture. This models.py will start from here in the next session. Till then, just finish your previous two assignments and just try to run some of these queries, right? And see if you are able to create some tables, store some data just by using the SQL queries. Okay, awesome. So, any questions till this point? Ayan was asking what URL part is doing. I think that we have answered, Ayan. That was a tag. Yes, we will be working with SQLite 3 in the from the next session. Okay. So I'll stop sharing my screen then if anybody has any queries. And tomorrow some of you will be having a session on the dynamic arrays that will be totally optional. So if you have any doubts, then you can attend. Mohit will be taking it, I suppose. Okay, so I'll start the doubt session. Those of you who want to leave, you can just do give the assignment a try. And I want all of you to finish it before attending the next session on Wednesday. Thank you everyone for attending. Have a good night. Anirudh, I might not be able to respond on Skiller chat right after this. Actually, I'll get back to you tomorrow if you have any queries there. Okay. Thank you everyone. Anyone has any questions, any concerns, any issues you are facing? Looks like none. Then why are you not attempting the assignments? Silence. Pin drop silence. So, at least give a thumbs up if you will be able to solve the assignment before the next session. No, nobody will be able to solve it. Okay, we have two people. Fine, then let's call it a day. Let's not extend anything now, and we'll see you on Wednesday. We'll start with Django models. We have just discussed what databases, and we did a brief recap of what we discussed earlier. Right, you can take time since it's your first time doing dev. So, but still make sure you follow with us, otherwise you will lag a little behind if that is the case, right, Kazi? Yes, please give it a try, Rahul. Okay, awesome. Bye everyone then. Good night. Bye bye.